AGM, this meeting that we're having today. We are going to have AGM meetings in the wards. Each and every ward is going to have its own AGM meeting where all these issues are going to be tabled, especially to allow more people to participate. Unfortunately, we cannot allow everybody to be here. It's a limited space, and we cannot accommodate everybody. But you are guaranteed that we are still going to visit the ward, each and every ward. We are going to visit them and deliver the report to them. So everybody will be covered. And we have tried to spread as much as possible our invitation to each and every important stakeholder to participate here today. We've got almost all our stakeholders represented. And we would rely on your cooperation to ensure that the meeting takes exactly 2 hours as it's supposed to, and we are free to go and do other businesses in our individual areas. In our midst, we have got councillors whom I would like to introduce to you today. This is the first year of the new council that has just been elected by yourselves. We have in our midst the mayor, Councillor Vustembe, who is seated next to me. And I would ask him just to stand up so that you may see him. That's the mayor. We have Deputy Mayor Gebo Skudla next to us. We've got Councillor V. Manana. We've got Councillor Rocha. Councillor Nzingane. Councillor Gama. Councillor Dlamini. Councillor Nhlengetwa. We are missing a few councillors who are still coming, or Councillor Malaza, who is just coming. And we shall introduce the others as they come, as long as they come before the mayor has taken the podium. Like I said, this meeting is going to be run in this fashion, the council fashion. The mayor, when he addresses the congregation, he addresses them sitting down. This is how we do it. But when we pray, we all stand up and pray and sit down, and the process starts. And like I said, you'll be free to ask questions after we have completed the presentation. The presentation, the first one will be the general report by the mayor. Then the last one will be the financial report, which is also going to be presented by the mayor. I think I've done the housekeeping. We shall have a tea break after we have completed our session, and after we have asked questions. Thank you. Again, when it comes to time, because you may see that there are so many people who are attending and who might be interested in to talk during the presentation or after the presentation, who may want to ask questions or who may want to remark somehow one way or the other. We would request that at least the maximum time you take is 5 minutes, just if you want to ask a question or you want to make your remarks. Let's try to accommodate each other. Everybody would like to speak, and let us allow them to speak, ensuring that we just take 5 minutes at the most. We would appreciate your cooperation when it comes to that. And thank you so much. Without any further ado, we are getting into the official now, the official business of the council today, or of this meeting today. The official business starts with opening, welcoming remarks. That is the mayor who is going to start the meeting officially. Thank you. Thank you.
I call the meeting to order, and may I request that we all stand as we open the meeting with prayer by Councillor Kama.
Asinibingelele maswati lamahle sinemukele emsakatweni channel yeMaswati. Igama lami ngikhanyisile Mabuza kanti ke lapha sikhona khona kuse Mountain View Hotel. Lapho sithe khona emhlanganweni weminyaka wamasipala wedolobha laseMbabane iannual meeting. Kanti ke eceleni kwami sokhona lo ngumahlelo esangweni wakhe emasipala umnumzane Lakhitha bese siyavusela thabethe njani.
Vusela kuwe khanyisile nemabukeli behlelo.
Mhlawumbe ungasichazela nje kafishane ungakaqala umhlangano ukuthi yini lebhekekile kusitowendeka la.
No sibonge umhlangano lomgcokwa lo as for us as council la sibuyisa khona sikhulume nesive ema stakeholders alo dolobha ukuthi usebenzile masipala usebenze njani kulomnyaka noma ke lo 12 months lo wengcile so ngithi vele i-exercise lekey lana nje sibite cishe ongane ama stakeholders alo dolobha wonke umuntu represented njengoba wathi council ukuthi sicetha khetha wona ema councilors ethu bakhona bobabe namake sinenhlanhla lomnyaka ukhona make lo councilor so nabo bakhona then akhona nabo somabhizinisi tonke tinhlangano from the banking sector bosomabhizinisi labakhulu kanjalo la masipala aletha khona yonke performance ukuthi etimalini simenjani ema projects simenjani ngimaphi futhi lamanye ama projects kumbe letako kulomnyaka lotako ukuthi kumbe stabe sisukumisa maphi. I'm sure lokunye bantu bakubonile edolobheni tinza abatemigwaco imbabane iface ne challenge yekuthi imigwaco yethu ngidawuthini seyengce ku lifespan so that's why ukhanza ukuthi vele dolobheni longana kusukela
2 guiding legislation on behalf of the old council office during this time I will make my remarks and request the acting CEO to assist further to elaborate on the report. During the 2023 we also faced and emerged from the COVID-19 pandemic and worked towards normalcy expected and mandated. During this time, we have provided health services to more than 2,000 residents at no cost through walk-in services. We have partnered with Unamandla Clinic to provide care to more than 400 elderly people. More than 1,000 children have been provided with meals and healthcare services at a cost of over $500,000, with 20% coming as donations from others. More than 70 young residents attended the Mbabane Youth Forum discussing topical issues with our CEO, with the 27 going through a 5-day training on peer protection. Empowerment for 56 young females was carried out with assistance from partners like Amical to provide business startup packs costing more than $500,000. Outsourced services provided employment for 512, with 390 being Mbabane residents. 274 building applications were approved at an average of 12.19 days from previous 27.54. 95 UDP plots were fully paid up, increasing paid up plots to 1,052 citywide. Four new bylaws were developed to address disaster management, user fees, waste management, and public spaces. Our ISO 9000-2015 accreditation was maintained after a rectification audit. As council, we thank residents and workers for the combined effort in achieving the above. We remain committed to revise quality services and leadership to make the city's vision and mission alive. We look forward to working together today and in the future. Thank you very much. I'll request the CEO to help me present the report.
Thank you, Lordship. Like I said, we are going to use both languages, Siswati and English. We are free to use the one that you are comfortable with. This is the report of the mayor. General report. I'll start with the general report, then we will follow with the financial report. which will be done on behalf of the mayor by the Director Finance, Mr. Mamba. I'll start with the strategic management, organizational performance assessment of councillors. Council's performance improved over a previous year from 89 to 93%. Lena bahlonishwa lenkhona enkasendlini kokutshengisa ukuthi councillors are now assessed, their performance is assessed by the Ministry of Housing, and the Ministry of Housing uses PricewaterhouseCoopers auditors to conduct the performance assessment for councillors. And this time around, the council, they obtained 89% compared to the 93%, and 93% compared to 89%. And the assessment was conducted by the PwC to ensure good governance, sound management practices, and service delivery. On IDP, that's an integrated development plan implementation, which is coming to its end by the end of this current financial year. The IDP is left with 1 year of implementation, and by the end of the financial year, the implementation stood at 71%. And this we could have achieved much better, but due to financial challenges, we were unable to meet most of the infrastructure projects that are contained in this IDP. And we've got a program for Smart City Framework. A Smart City Framework was developed and approved by the council, and a detailed implementation schedule was formulated outlining what needs to be done by which year. And under disaster management, vigilance was maintained for any threats to the city. That means we have a disaster management plan, which we coined together with the NMDA, which we are using as a city, especially to try and allay things like the issue of water flooding in the city, which has been a problem before. And we are aware that this current year we are bound to face El Nino effects, which is likely to bring about drought conditions. So we're working around the clock to ensure that we do not experience what we experienced about 4 years ago, when we had to do water rationing in the city. But when we come to PPP, we've got a bus rank development. The bus rank development, which was supposed to be carried out by JM Busha, could not come to fruition due to that JM Busha failed to show us that they do have the financial strength to carry out the business. So we had to kind of cut ties with JM Busha, and we have set out a new request for proposals, RFPs, which have been published already. We have got also the mixed-use development and civic center, which is the talk of the town these days. The civic center, which is going to be constructed next to the Coronation Park, which is going to be carried out by Buna group of companies. That one is ongoing, and we've got others. There are other small ones, small PPPs, which we are carrying out with other partners to provide accommodation in the city. That one is also ongoing. Under the excursions, we've hosted the Triland excursion. This was an industry players from Eswatini, the province of Mpumalanga, in South Africa and Mozambique. The aim was to promote regional tourism. We've got a program that deals with tourism under the office of the CEO. And we also look at promoting local economic development. On that one, the major thing that we did there was to ensure that ease of business initiative comes to fruition. Then by so doing, we have improved our turnaround time when it comes to building applications, which are now approved within 13 days from 28 days. Promoting, so still under LED, that is promoting local economic development, we've got access to business support, whereby employment created through outsourced services was at 512 people. That is 381 males and 131 females. of which 390 are Mbabane residents. Direct labor sourced from communities employed 55 people under the technical services. Council facilitated training of 19 informal vendors. That was SEDCO conducted the basic business management program on our behalf. And a total of 24 out of school youth enrolled for entrepreneurship training, and a total of 15 young entrepreneurs graduated on the entrepreneurship training facilitated by Junior Achievement. And we also conducted a workshop to 57 aspiring tenderers on standard compliance to ERS, that is Eswatini Revenue Services, government e-registration system, and the MCM procurement and payment processes, LED capacity building, and company registration. When it comes to the program for access to human capital in school entrepreneur training, Sfunzana High School represented the country in Nigeria in the annual Company of the Year competition, and they won the Best Customer Focus Award. Plus, they came number 3 overall during that competition, and we are very proud of Sfunzana High School, who represented us very well with the support of the Municipal Council of Mbabane. When it comes to internal audit, we do have internal audit within the institution, which reviews to determine the adequacy and effectiveness of the internal controls, procedures, and systems were undertaken, and these they include human resources, information and public relations, social services, property maintenance, and also insurance adequacy. Under information and public relations, meetings with important stakeholders like the Mbabane Ratepayers Association, Mbabane Business People, through the annual business forum, senior editors, as part of the efforts to ensure that there is ongoing dialogue between council and its important stakeholders. These are important stakeholders whom we engaged during the year under review, and 7 Mbabane residents participated in the Chinese language exchange program as part of the Mbabane city, together with the Taipei city, in the twinning agreement that we have. And local government elections were carried out successfully, and we were able to bring in the councillors that we have today. And this registration, they started in January 2023, and the councillors were ushered in July 2023. Under public health and social services, we carried out a number of activities that includes HIV testing services kits, self-testing kits, which were distributed, pre-exposure prophylaxis and post-exposure prophylaxis. We also distributed condoms. I know that sometimes people may make fun of this. Distribution of condoms is very, very important because it's a government initiative that condoms should be distributed all over. We distributed over 2 million condoms in 1 year. And also we ensure that we assisted in the male circumcision initiative. And there are more than 1,000 children who received food 2 meals per day, 5 times a week. That is, those are children who are supported by the City Council of Mbabane to receive meals daily. And 166 of the children, they received quality preschool education, also with courtesy of the City Council of Mbabane and healthcare services. And also they received psychosocial support in 10 social centers around the municipalities. Under corporate governance, this year under review, we saw a decrease in the number of meetings and our activities compared to the previous year. This is good because it tells you that council's business is flowing. That's why the number of meetings are reduced. When there are more meetings, it means there are some problems within the council. And council also successfully held all her statutory meetings, and the number of scheduled meetings were 14% less than those held in the previous year. And under litigation, we successfully defended 3 cases that were initiated or brought against the council, and also successfully moved 3 more cases that were raised by the council. This time around, we did not lose any case that was among those cases brought against us. And under legislation, there are a number of pieces of legislation that were developed by the council or worked on by the council and are currently with the ministry. And these include the Urban Government Act review, the Rating Act review, Building Act review, Waste Management Bylaw, Public Open Space Bylaw, Municipal Council of Mbabane Disaster Management Bylaw, and Mbabane User Fees and Charges Bylaw. You will remember that there have been talk that the user fees were not consulted with the ministry. That was done with the minister and the ministry officials. And now we are waiting for the minister to action on these pieces of legislation that have been brought before the minister. With staff complements and movements, we didn't see much movement happening because we've got a complement of 102 employees compared to 103 that we had last year. The number of employees dropped from 209 to 102 since 2016 after the restructuring. So that shows these are the fruits of the restructuring, that we are now less by 100 people. Staff training and development, the council considers the capacitation of its employees in different disciplines as one of its most important human capital investment. There were 22 trainings that took place. 21 of them were short-term and 1 medium-term, and that were undertaken in different fields during the course of the year. The training covered a number of skills related to performance improvement, coaching and mentoring, new skills in the field, refreshers and succession planning, etc. Post the main phase of restructuring, the council has continuously trained its employees, both those who remained after the restructuring and those that were recruited in line with the turnaround strategy. Under crime prevention, the council developed a crime prevention strategy in collaboration with all relevant stakeholders, and the crime prevention strategy was partially implemented during the course of the year. The crime rate generally decreased this year compared to the previous years. That is mainly due to the renewed police visibility and post the civic unrest that we experienced in 2021 and other related factors. Below are statistics that are provided, they are in the books, and are also contained in the information that we provided online for you to peruse. The statistics show that the crimes like murder, armed robbery, car theft, and possession of firearms are very low in Mbabane compared to other cities. The crime that is common in Mbabane and is common theft, which is almost 70% of the crime that takes place in Mbabane, including housebreaking and theft. Neighborhood Watch Scheme to foster the prevention of crime in Mbabane. The council, in collaboration with 3 neighborhood watch schemes, were revitalized at Msunduza Corporation and Mbabane Township. Crime fighting equipment like handcuffs, reflector jackets, and whistles, etc., were donated to the neighborhood watch scheme by the council. And there are more watch schemes that are said to be implemented under the newly established crime prevention strategy. We also, as a city, we are ISO 9001 certified, and then we continuously have surveillances that are carried out during the course of each year. And during the year under review, we had our first surveillance carried out. The council has successfully maintained its ISO 9001 2015 certification after a recertification audit held in August 2022. The audit was completed without any non-conformities or serious observations being raised. There were 0 non-conformities, NRCs, NCRs actually, sorry. that were raised during this audit, but 4 opportunities for improvement were identified. And this was the 5th external audit in succession without non-conformities. That shows that we are doing well when it comes to conforming to ISO 9001 standard. When it comes to complaints that were received, complaints received during the course of the year were 24 compared to 63 that were received the previous year. And the compliments were more this time around to 86 compared to 42. We keep track of this so that we see how satisfied our customers are with the service that we provide, and to ensure that we make follow-ups to each and every complaint that has been lodged formally against us. We ensure that we keep a proper record of that, and we've got a system that tracks on how we have responded to those complaints. Under planning and community services, there was a realignment of boundaries to ensure that the boundaries, they take into account demographics and social factors of the communities, infrastructure such as roads, that is, for example, MR3 highway, which separates a number of wards, and the natural features such as topography and rivers. We also look at issues like cadastral lines, such as where some properties cut across 2 wards. That's why we have readjusted our wards this time around. There are new wards, but there are still 12, but they've been realigned now to take into consideration the above factors that I've just mentioned. When it comes to implementation of town planning scheme, we were able to do rezoning, special consent, subdivision, consultation, home office application for variation of town planning scheme, temporary building permits, and all of them, they amounted 302 compared to 301 that we had last year. Special consent applications received were to develop residential rentals units, mostly in Ward 1, indicating a house demand within the low to middle income bracket of the city. There is demand for housing in Mbabane, still there. Approximately 20% of the subdivision applications were for commercial zoned plots, while 80% were all in residential areas. Urban Development Project plot sales. This project aims at collecting plot sale proceeds from plot beneficiaries who were allocated plots in the urban development projects. And these are communities like Nkwalini Zone 2, Nkwalini Zone 4, and Mahwalala Zone 6. And a total of 1.7 million was collected during the financial year against a target of 2 million. That's indicating that only 83% of the target was reached. The payment of the plots stood as follows. In essence, total full paid people were 2,319. Allocated plots were 4,838, whilst the percentage of fully paid people were 48%. We continued again under environmental health services to do food grading during the financial year, and there was a slight decrease that was seen in the number of premises that were visited during the course of the year, because some of them they closed down due to COVID effects that took place about a year ago. And the graded premises included restaurants, bakeries, supermarkets, butcheries, convenience shops, and institutional kitchens. We did also routine inspection to ensure that our food premises, they meet the required standard. And also we did meat inspection in the various butcheries and also in any abattoir that is around us. We also participated in the Demvelo Awards, whereby City Council won the Green Municipal Award, which was awarded due to Council's nature-based solution towards waste management, using risk assessment to develop solutions, forming strategic partnership to improve sustainability, and also offering quality service delivery. We also won the Carbon and Energy Award, which was due to Council's holistic approach to measuring, managing, and reducing emission in its operations. Under health, nuisances control, we were able to work around nuisances that were reported. There are about 194 reported on overgrown plots, dangerous trees, domestic animals, including dogs and cattle, of overflowing sewers and septic tanks, and illegal dams and illegal burning of waste. And a total of 111 overgrown plots were cleared during the period. When it comes to waste disposal, a total of 17.8 thousand tons of waste was received at Mbabane landfill during the course of the year. This shows an increase of about 53% in the waste received as compared to the preceding financial year. Such an increase is ascribed to increased waste coverage that the city has achieved, which stands at 97%. Council purchased 11 rare and loader waste skips, which are collected by the compactor trucks, and this is exactly what could have also added to the more waste that has been collected, because we have provided more skips for people to use. And when it comes to recycling, 38.140 tons of waste was recycled in the city during the year 2022-23 financial year. This is waste collected by authorized waste collectors before it reaches the landfill. And the total of 118 tons of food waste was also composed from a total of 112 food outlets in the city. We also made sure that we had our flea markets going on during the year. We had 24 of them that were held successfully. That is almost 2 per month during the year under review. And we also made sure that we kind of paved the pathways that lead to Mbabane market, which were not easy to walk on, and now we have made sure that they are properly paved to increase aesthetics of the market. When it comes to climate change and mitigation and adaptation, 956 trees were planted to mitigate the impacts of climate change. 954 hedge plants were also planted in 3 cemeteries, and the maize to screen them off. And a total of 35 dangerous trees were felled, and 18 trees were trimmed to ensure safety of properties. Under biodiversity conservation, 296,000 square meters of vegetation was sprayed in open space to control the proliferation of invasive alien plant species. The inventory of the IAPS was developed to establish baseline data to facilitate the monitoring of IAPS proliferation. And under recreation events and management, Mbabane Marathon and Boot Camp were hosted during the year, and 800 outlets participated in the half marathon. And this is part of the wellness program, but is under parks to ensure that people, they've got enough time to play and exercise to keep themselves healthy. And we're also able to host Edge in Motion games with the 28 participating soccer teams, 6 volleyball and 7 netball continued. And 80 people are participating in the Oval Keep Fit program, which is also part and parcel of wellness program. 823 children from various primary schools in Mbabane participated in the Mbabane Olympic Day Run. Establishment and upgrading of recreational and parks facilities. The first ever outdoor chess play facility was constructed at Coronation Park. This facility is open, by the way, to all people in Mbabane. Anyone who plays chess can go to the Coronation Park there with a friend, and they will be able to play. A new park was also established at Checkers, and this is the first phase, included landscaping, fencing, and establishment of a garden. And on another note, council rolled out the establishment of outdoor gym at Selection Park, which we saw its official opening by the minister during the course of this year. Development under technical services, we looked at development, building and development control. We had submissions of about amounting to 847 million emalangeni from people around Mbabane who submitted their building application for approval in 2023. And those that were approved, they amounted to 428 million emalangeni. And those that were completed amounted to 55 million emalangeni. Upgrading of drainage and bridges, we were able to upgrade the river crossing culverts to about 2.1 meters by 1.8 meters, a double barrel, to reduce the risk of flooding at Mantungulu and Sipefu streets. We also had Makosini Drive revamped and Mbilibe Road too. And there is accessibility in the city whereby we were ensuring that pathways were properly paved during the year, in particular in certain streets. But we're trying to ensure that most of our streets, they do have good walkways. And also we take into consideration issues that affect the people with disabilities. We ensure that around the city, we ensure that they are also taken care of, especially on where there are road crossings and where there is parking space that is reserved for those who are challenged physically. There was resealing and overlaying upgrading of roads. That was completed rehabilitation of 15 streets, which are about 3.6 kilometers length of roads within the city. And these are Sozisa Road, Makosini Road, Lalufadana Street, Dada Street, Dabete Street, Betfusile Street, Mzimba Avenue, Mbilibi Street, Labagwat 4, Msunduza Road, Imfemfe Street, Labagwat 8, Dijobe, Ward 7, Lusushwana Street, and Tabeni Lane, Ward 9, Kolwane, Lituba Street, Libuma Street, and Ward 6, Gogo Street, Tvogoto Street, and Mvundlela Street. All these are in Ward in Stwashini South. That is Ward 2. There was also installation of street lights in Tunga Street, Luhlongwa Street, Lutunga Street, Msuga Street, Live Street, Kashile Road, Koliwe Street, Mapala Road, Mkwava Street, Nkomazi Street, Luchu Lane, and Msebe Crescent. Public transport management continued. We were able to develop a public transport bylaw in conjunction with the transport sector and also government to ensure that there is proper regulation of transport within the municipality of Mbabane. And also we established a CTA public transport holding area, which we are working on right now, and also one at Situashini, which is going to be Situashini satellite bus rank. We are working on those even currently. Without any serious problems, we were able to engage continuously with the transport industry to ensure that there is proper reticulation of public transport at the bus rank, and also that their needs are met. There was also general maintenance. General maintenance, like we mentioned, it touches on footbridges, footpaths and sidewalks, pothole patchings, which we continued, and veg clearing and grading and regraveling. We are proud to say that we outdid ourselves this particular year. We did a lot of pothole patching, grading and regraveling of roads, and also tarring of roads. This is what we pride ourselves of having achieved this particular financial year. Without any further ado, Your Lordship, I would request that the finance director comes and presents his financial statements. Thank you.
Your Worship the Mayor, councillors and CEO and management, to our esteemed stakeholders, may I observe all protocol, and a good morning to you all. Mine will be to present the financial statement for the period ended 31st March 2023. Your Worship, maybe it is prudent to start by stating that even this year, we were able to receive an unqualified audit opinion from our external auditors, PricewaterhouseCoopers, which basically assured our stakeholders and interested parties that the funds within council are still well taken care of, put by the council. My presentation will be in this format. We will be looking at the income and expenditure statement, the statement of financial position, the statement of cash flows. Then we will be looking at the performance in terms of rates collection, especially the arrear rates that were there at the end of the financial year, as well as payment methods that we have in the municipality, especially if you want to transact with the municipality. The income and expenditure statement. We saw a slight increase in terms of revenue between the 2 years, that is 2022 and the year under review, which is 2023. There was a slight increase in terms of revenue of about 3%. And also we saw a slight increase in other operating income of almost 2% from 10 million the previous year to about 11 million this year under review. As we continue with the presentation, we will briefly look at the analysis of these figures just to see what has been happening. But if you have your annual report in front of you, I think the financial statement begins at page 70. We also saw, we saw a drop in terms of grants and subventions between the 2 years of about 15%, dropping from 7.2 million the previous year to 6.1 million this year, with total income increasing by about 2%, from 148 million the previous year to 151 million. We can also report, Your Worship and stakeholders, that our operating income increased by about 6% between the 2 years, from increasing from 143 million to 151 million. We'll appreciate briefly what might have led to the increase between the 2 years. In terms of finance income, we saw an increase of about 18% from 5 million to 5.9 million. And in the same vein, we can see that there was a substantial increase in terms of the finance costs by about 95%. It was 1.1 million the previous year and 2.3 million this year. Maybe when we reach the balance sheet or the statement of financial position, we'll I was saying maybe we'll appreciate the movement in terms of our borrowing, which might have led to that significant increase in terms of the finance cost when we reach the balance sheet. The bottom line, we saw a drop in terms of our surplus from 8.8 million the previous year to 3.2 million this year. Basically, the drop might be attributed to that drop in terms of the grant and subvention, because we could see that it dropped by about 15%, from 7.2 million to 6.1 million. And also that increase in terms of our operating cost or operating expenditure by about 6%. Analyzing briefly our revenue, we said that there was about 3% increase from 130 million to 134 million. Basically, this increase might have been due to the fact that there was about 3% in terms of tariff increase in our rates this year. It was in March. You will pardon me, this keep on playing tricks on me. I don't know what's going on. But I was saying probably there was about 3% increase in terms of our raised tariff between the 2 years, which might lead to that increase that we are seeing in terms of our rates revenue. In terms of other income, there was that almost 2% increase. Well, there are some income items that increase significantly, such as land leases where there were about 21% increase from 1.6 million to 1.9 million, and other fees, which is our service charges or user fees, which also increased by about 50% from about 1.1 million to 1.7 million. We also saw an increase, Your Worship, from parking fees of about 51%, which increased from about 339,000 the previous year to 514,000 this year. There was a slight increase in terms of refuse collection fees, but the figures are comparable between the 2 years. That increase of about 2% from that 10.8 million to 11 million between the 2 years. I've already said the commentaries as I was presenting. Maybe moving on to our expenditure, we saw that our expenditure increased by about 6% from 143 million the previous year to 151 or almost 152 million this year. But if you look at our expenditure, most of the increases came from costs that were towards service provision. You will realize that the most increase went towards service provision costs like landfill management and refuse collection, overground management and security. There was about 30% increase there from 14 million the previous year to 18 million this year. The good thing is that most of the costs were going towards servicing the citizens of the city. And also there was an increase in terms of road rehabilitation and maintenance. I think the CEO pointed out that we pride ourselves of having upgraded most of our roads and streets, and you could increase towards rehabilitating some of the streets within the city. Hence that increase of about 6% in terms of the cost. The other expensive, most of them didn't increase much. In fact, they decreased most of them. In terms of our utility fees, I think they were compared because they were around the 10 million mark in both years. So there wasn't much increase there. There was about 2.5% increase between the 2 years in terms of utility charges. Maybe we can move to the statement of financial balance sheet, where we saw about 2.6% increase in terms of property, plant and equipment from 559 million the previous year to 573 this year. Well, there are quite a number of plants and equipment that might have been added during the year. As in the report of the CEO, we might see some of the plant that was added. Also, what we can highlight is the increase in terms of our trade and other receivable, whereby there was a 35% increase from about 67 million this year to 91 million. This basically was as a result of increase in terms of outstanding rates at the end of the financial year, where about 24 million was added into the debtors book, which was not paid during the year. Hence that increase in terms of our receivables. In terms of cash and cash equivalent, we saw a drop of about 17% from 99 million the previous year to 82 million this year, mainly due to acquisitions in terms of the property, plant and equipment that we have talked about. But maybe we'll see the movement here, what might have caused the movement when we go to the statement of cash flows, what might have led to that reduction in terms of the cash and cash equivalent. In terms of our equity and liabilities, we saw an increase of about 3% in terms of our retained surplus from 97 million to 100 million. And also there was a significant increase in terms of our borrowings from 16 million to about 37.6 million. This might have been due to the fact that there were loans that were raised during the financial year, especially towards construction of most of the capital projects that are going on in the city. But in as much as there was about almost 28 million in loans that was raised, about 7.31 million was paid in terms of those borrowings. Hence the net of about 37 million at the end of the financial year. In terms of trade and other payables, we saw a drop of about almost 13% there from 15 million the previous year to 13 million at the end of 2023. Maybe we can quickly move to the statement of cash flows and appreciate how funds moved during the year. We saw a net inflow from operating activities decreasing from about 6.6 million the previous year to an outflow this year of about 15 million. In terms of our investing activities, there was a lot of acquisition in terms of property, plant and equipment, about 29.8 million, with a net outflow from investing activities of about 30 million. So there was much movement in terms of acquisitions, especially much going to the roads that were being constructed and also to the skips that about 11 of them, I think they will touch on some of those issues. In terms of cash activities, we had about 6 million received as grants, and also there were loans that were raised the net of about 20 million. Hence, that net increase or net reduction in terms of our cash and cash equivalent of about 17 million. That led to the decrease in our cash from the 99 million we had at the beginning of the financial year to about 82 million at the end of 2023. In terms of our ratio analysis, maybe starting with our liquidity, our current ratio showed an increase from 8.3 is to 1 the previous year to 8.5 is to 1 this year. This is to say, for every 1 Lilangeni that the municipality is owing, at least there is about 8.5 Malangeni to pay off that liability, which means it's a stronger position than we were the previous year. So we are a bit liquid. In terms of our gearing ratio, we saw an increase from about 2.2% the previous year to about 5.4% this year, mainly due to the loan that I've talked about that was raised during the year. So our total debt to total assets stood at about 5.4% at the end of March 2023. In terms of our staff costs to the total cost, we were at around 35.4%, which means that at least most of the funds or the cost went towards service delivery. About 64% went towards service delivery and operations, and only 35% went towards staff costs. And our capital expenditure to total revenue increased significantly. We were at 9.5% the previous year. This year we're about 20.6%, which is a good thing, which means that most of the revenue generated by council goes towards or is invested towards capital projects around the city. Hence you see what is happening around. It means that there is an increase in the amount that is invested towards capital projects. In terms of the area rates or performance in our rates, unfortunately we saw an increase in terms of outstanding rates at the end of the financial year. 2023 there was about 106 million that was still outstanding, with 68 million of that amount from the government, which already they have made a commitment that they will be paying some of those. And also there was about 38 million from private ratepayers that remained unpaid at the end of the financial year, which is a significant amount. If you look at that amount, if it can be received by council, there is quite a lot that can be done, and it can also reduce the issue of relying from external borrowing to construct most of the capital projects that are going on. But that increase from 83 million to 106 million it's a bit worrying, because it means that there is that tendency of maybe a number of our ratepayers not paying their dues during the year. Let me conclude my presentation by stating that we have quite a number of options that you can use if you want to transact with the municipality, and we have made things easier for to pay their liabilities. They can do this at the comfort of their office or at the comfort of your home. We have quite a number of options here where you can use electronic funds transfers and stop orders. But if you want to use stop orders, make sure that you consult with us so that we can do those formalities that are needed before you could proceed to your bank. And also we have other options that you can use. You can also come through and make payment through our rates hall here. There's friendly staff that will help you with the issues of your rates and whatever you want to transact with the council. Also, you can use mobile money, and you can as well make direct deposit with your bank, whatever bank that you are using. We have collection accounts with almost all the banks within in the country where you can do your direct deposit with that bank. Thank you for your time, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you very much, Your Worship.
Siyabonga kakhulu Finance Director. Sitawucela manje noma sitawuvula ifloor sivulele ema remarks nema observations nema questions.
Ucela ma remarks mayor, ma observations, nobeke ma questions laba khona. Babe Bennett, number 1. Sicela lo munye sawuzama kusasa nje ningabi munye. Sithathe bese sesiyasonzela. Babe Bennett, Babe Masilela, Babe Alfred Lamini. 3. Babe Bennett, Babe Masilela, bese baba Alfred ngokulandzelana kwabo. Siyabonga.
Athi noma sihlala phansi noma sawulandzela emakhansela ngikhulume ngihlele esitulweni.
Ungakhuluma umile Babe Bennett, it depends how comfortable khona baba.
I'm comfortable sitting.
Kulungile baba.
Angikale Chairman kubonga fana ngisasikhumbula phela kusiphiwe sithikile uva ngemoya la ekamelweni nje ucha engathi utawushaya umoya. La kimi ke Chairman kunengana ngikale nje ngekuthi ama councillors na mayor lokhu sinika lokhu namhla kwenteke emshadweni kuphela ukuthi uyakudla ngalelo langa kuphekile. Sinikeni lama report ngesikhathi. Angathi sesikhulume ngakho. Yindlela engayikhulumisa kanje ufike nami. Indlandla mina ke nalama financial statement wona mbamba ndawakhulumisa ngakhona. Kepha nje kunengana Chairman ngoba ndawukhuluma ngalama financial statement kepha abalingani bami ngiyabona banawo la. Bese ke ngikhuluma ngebudget nami lengithole singakubamba njani ngoba mina ngiyabekisa phela ngangiphe into lengabeka khona lo mbhobho. Yabo. Ngidawukhuluma Chairman ngalama accounts lelenginawo. Ngiphinde ngikhulume nangebudget lengiyitholile this time for the first time. Kepha ngayithola nje kulomnye councillor kulaba labahambayo.